What's good, everybody? This is another episode of The Truth Doesn't Hurt. You're just soft. Once again, my name is Tyler. I'm out at the Grove at the movie theater right now, so a little different scenery. I'm trying to switch it up using my phone. Shout out Alex behind the camera. Thanks. So yes, we got a lot of different stuff going on. So this episode, I don't have a guest compared to the last one, but I'm just talking to you guys about something a little bit more personal to me, and just hope that this kind of resonates with somebody. So as I take a step back, and I take a step to the right here, and I'll take a step to the left here, you notice that I do walk a little bit different. Now the reason that is that I was born with something that's called cerebral palsy, and the reason why this is something that I want to talk about, for the longest time I felt as if the way that I walked, I know it has its moments where it can be inspiring, but also at the same time I felt like recently up until this point, I do have my moments that I've started to recognize where I do feel insecure and have those moments of insecurity. And where that would kick in, for example, I could walk through a crowd, and then as I'm walking through the crowd, I feel as if people are staring at me, or I feel as if people are kind of judging me, or especially if I'm playing basketball or trying to go to the gym, I feel as if I'm always looked at as if something is lacking. Now the reason what made me want to do this message last Wednesday, a friend of mine, his name's Ross, he was doing a message talking about how we have our limp, and I hope I'm not quoting it wrong, but Isaac had a limp, and after he wrestled with God. So I started to think, this limp isn't necessarily a bad thing, but this limp is just a representation of the encounter that I had with God throughout my life. And I feel as if as time went on, as I got older and started to become more aware of it, when you're younger and when you're a kid, you just know it for what it is. You don't think much of it. But as you get older, that's when those insecurities start to step in. Now me, dealing with all this, and as I'm starting to recognize man, there are moments where this makes me feel insecure, I have to remind myself that God made me like this for a reason. I had many people tell me well, maybe if you do this, you can be healed. Maybe if you do this, you can be healed. I've always been given different options as to where I would be healed. But I hope this encourages somebody to where it's just sometimes the biggest flaw of what you may have in your life, or what you feel is holding you back, or what you feel you can't present yourself because of whatever that may be, might be the biggest reason of which God would want to use you. Now with me, it's a little bit different because I do deal with stuff to where people can see physically. It's something that you can't really ignore. I walk into a room, it catches people's attention, but at the same time, if you know you have something that catches people's attention, you want to move in a way to where you know that they're looking at the right thing. So for example, with this here, I pride myself on being a very joyful person. So if people are going to see me walking the way that I do, I want them to make sure that they're seeing someone who's smiling, someone who's hopeful, someone who keeps things going no matter what the circumstances. Because at the end of the day, I can only do so much with what I have. And at the end of the day, I'm going to make the best of what I have because God's given me it. At the end of the day, I try not to look at my leg as something that limits me, but I try to look at my leg as something that's a blessing to me and other people around me. Now, later on, fast forward, when I turned 13, I also got diagnosed with leukemia. And when I got diagnosed with leukemia, that was another hurdle that came about, almost feeling as if man, this is something else that almost makes you feel super limited. Now during that time, it was a lot different because I was told by doctors that, hey, you might die. Hey, you might not see 30, whatever it might look like. And it honestly just felt like another limitation. It was almost as if God, I already have this limp with my leg. Why would you add something else onto the plate? And sometimes I still struggle with the thought process of it. But at the same time, I try to tell myself, all these different stuff, or all these different hurdles of which I have, are only used to elevate me to be a blessing to the next person. So anything that is a shortcoming, when you're going through that shortcoming where you're bringing God into that process to where you need him, is it really a shortcoming? Because you're serving a creator that's going to set you up to win. Now, I recently went to the doctor today, actually. This is Thursday. What's today? Yeah, today's Thursday. So today's Thursday. I'm in the waiting room, and I'm sitting there across. There's a couple there, and she's holding his hand. He's getting ready to go get his results treatment. And every time I go into the hospital, I try to think man, I've always felt with a feeling of being thankful, because I'm surrounded by people whose Thursday was a lot different. You had some people that went in there and were reminded that their cancer has spread. You have some people that went in there and they're reminded that they have X amount of time to live, and you have some family members who walk in there that saw a loved one for the last time. So whenever I think about different stuff like that, and I think about all the stuff with which I've been through in my life to where I'm still able to be here, tell you a story, laugh and joke with my friends, I have nothing more to be grateful for, because God has put me in a position to where like I'm able to live my life and be joyful because I serve a God who's brought me through all those dark times. Even when I was born, the doctors told my parents, your son has 2 weeks to live. And the fact that I'm here 27 years later is just a blessing in itself. And I've just been in this mindset of where like I have to sit and reflect on everything of which God's given me, because then things could look so different. And I've been thinking to myself today, like, you have to change your perspective. No matter what's going on, your perspective is going to be everything. I can sit here and be like, man, like, God gave me this limp or God gave me cancer, but at the end of the day, like, I'm not stuck in the hospital. I'm able to go play basketball. I'm able to go hang out with my friends. I'm able to drive a car. I'm able to show up to work. All these things of which God has allowed me to do. And just because I decided not to sit there and look at what I am lacking in as something that's super bad. Like, if I have God behind me, it's not a disability. If I have God behind me, it's not a disease, because it's not something that hinders me. It's all something that I can use as leverage to praise the God who made me this way. So take pride in the way of which you're made. Take pride in the stuff of which you've been through. Be proud to say that I've been through this and I've struggled through this, but I'm here now. Because at the end of the day, like, we have a God that's pulled you through those. And once you kind of change your perspective to the set of where like, man, God has done this for me, I think my mindset on life has changed tremendously. Like, I've seen so many different things, and I always think to myself, like, man, things really could be different. But every day I wake up and I have another 24, and this is coming from the kid that was born, and the doctor said, your son doesn't even have 2 weeks to live. But yeah, I wake up every day. So every day to me is more like a new opportunity. And I'm not saying that you have to go through similar circumstances to feel that way, but I just hope this encourages somebody to understand that, like, whatever you're going through, God is still in the middle of it. If you if you come to the realization that if God is in the middle of everything that I'm going through, it doesn't matter. Like, it's always a guaranteed victory. And I feel as if when we're going through those things where it feels like, man, where's God? This is going on. Bills are getting high. I'm in pain, whatever it might be. You almost feel as if we're kind of put on the sidelines. But I feel as if just coming to the realization that God is truly in everything, you're always set up for a breakthrough and you're always set up for a win. So I came out here to tell you all of that. Change your perspective. God's going to work wonderful things. I pray that this encourages somebody. I pray that this does something for anybody on the other side of the screen. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Another episode coming soon.